guys, what's up? It's Krissy and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different than what I usually post on my channel. I usually do vlogs, makeup, random videos here and there, you know, when I'm actually on YouTube. So today's going to be something a little bit different, and that is going to be a true crime video. Those of you who know me, all my friends, all my family know how obsessed and intrigued I am by true crime. Like, my TV was always on ID channel at my parents' house when I have cable. I don't have cable at my apartment, but my boyfriend was kind enough to give me his log on to his DirecTV thing so I can watch ID Go and keep up with all of my show. I know this is something that a lot of YouTubers have started doing, so it's not original, but it's something that I've always really wanted to do and gear my channel towards. And don't worry, I'm going to be doing makeup, vlogs, hair, you know, different things like that. I'm still going to be doing that stuff, but I want to weave in some true crime videos as well. So it's going to be kind of a mixture of things, but I'm actually really excited to do this stuff. With all that being said, today I'm going to be talking about the murder of Dorothy Stratten. I know a lot of people do disclaimers and stuff, so that I'm no different. I want to make a disclaimer. This stuff I got all on the internet. I'll link my sources below, of course. This is all just information that I found on the internet, and I'm just putting it onto 1 or 3 sheets and retelling the story in my own words to you guys. I really mean no disrespect to anybody, especially not the victim, the victim's family. If you come across this video, this is all just for educational purposes, and I'm just retelling the story. So with that disclaimer out of the way, I will kind of, you know, fix it up and have like an actual disclaimer that I say in every single one of my videos, but this is my first one, so just bear with me. We're just gonna go ahead and get right into the video. I'm like hurting my feet, so I'm going to be back here just kind of chilling. Dorothy Ruth Hoog Stratten was born on February 28th, 1960 to Dutch immigrant parents Simon and Nellie Hoog Stratten. She has one younger brother, John, and one younger sister, Louise. Growing up, she was described as being shy, kind of innocent. She wasn't really self-confident. People used to make fun of her for having those big, like, Kylie Jenner lips that everybody wants now. People used to make fun of her back then, and it made her really self-conscious despite being a naturally beautiful girl. In 1977, when she was just 17 years old, Dorothy was working at a local Dairy Queen when in walked Paul Snyder, who was a 26-year-old pimp and nightclub promoter from the Vancouver area. He immediately took a liking to Dorothy and even told his friend that was with him she could make me a lot of money. Shows you what type of guy he is. Okay, just a little background information on Paul Snyder. I'm not gonna focus too much on this, but I just want to give you guys a little bit of background information. He was born on August 15th, 1951, so he's 9 years her senior. He grew up in kind of a rough area in Vancouver. His parents split when he was really young. I read on one of my sources that he dropped out of school in the 7th grade. He also grew up as kind of a skinnier guy, and that kind of made him a little self-conscious as well. So he took up bodybuilding and, you know, trying to work on his image and being very kind of obsessed with himself, you know. When he got older, he started life as a pimp. He wore mink, he drove a black Mercedes, he wore a bejeweled necklace. He just looks like he's very cocky and very conceited. He also became known as the Jewish pimp. So there we go. Okay, so back to the story. Like I said, he took an immediate liking to Dorothy. He told his friend that she could make him a lot of money and all of that stuff. The two began dating pretty quickly. Before Paul, actually, she only had one other boyfriend. Like, she was innocent. She was an innocent and vulnerable young teenage girl, and he took advantage of that. It has been said that she was intrigued by him buying her nice things. What girl isn't? Who isn't? Everyone around her warned her about him, but you know how you are when you're 17 years old, you really like this guy, and everyone's trying to tell you he's bad news, but you don't want to listen to everybody because you think that he's changed. In the summer of 1978, when Dorothy was 18 years old, he set up and he was gonna send them off to Playboy. She was 18, so she was under the legal age in Canada, so she had to get her mom's signature on a model release form. She ended up convincing her mom to sign this form, and the photos were sent off to Playboy. In August of that year, they actually called her to go to LA for, I guess, kind of like an audition is what they do. I don't really know anything about the whole procedures when it comes to Playboy and how you get picked and stuff like that, but she was flown out to LA. It was her first plane ride ever. She ended up becoming a finalist in the 25th anniversary Great Playmate Hunt. That was a mouthful, and you don't know how many times it took me recording this to get that right. She soon moved to LA for good, and Snyder joined her 2 months later in October of 1978. 7 months later, on June 1st, 1979, Snyder and Stratten got married. So now he was her manager and her husband. He was her manager and her boyfriend before, but now he's her manager and her husband, so pretty much like the assets and stuff, you know. I don't know how marriage works, but yeah, that's what happened. Their marriage was rushed, and he pretty much just wanted to be in control of her. Like I said, he was now her manager and her husband. He had that feeling of he's the one that sent the photos to Playboy. Like she kind of had an obligation to him, you know what I mean? Is what, like, the vibe that I'm getting from this. He controlled her finances, her real estate. He even determined who she should sleep with to further her career. In August of 1979, Dorothy officially shortened her last name to Stratten and became known as Dorothy Stratten. Also in August of 1979, she became Playboy's Miss August. Hugh Hefner became sort of like a father figure to Dorothy. He kept her up to date with like her work visas. You know, she was from Canada, so she's living in the US and she had to have a work visa. He gave her a job as a bunny at the Playboy Club. Hefner warned her about Paul Snyder like everyone else was doing. He referred to him as a hustler and a pimp, and he just outwardly did not like the guy, like most people didn't. He was actually rarely invited to the mansion, and that bothered him a lot because, you know, he like owned this girl, he like made this girl, so he felt this sort of like, I deserve to be there, you know, and it just bugged him, and he was so money hungry and so like power hungry and just wanted a part of that life. By this time, Hugh believed that Dorothy would have great success as a film actress as well. She had small roles in TV shows such as Fantasy Island, Buck Rogers. She had roles in Americathon, Skate Town USA, and in the exploitation film August Born. Her first lead role came in the sci-fi film Galaxina. 1980 was gonna be her year, her decade. She was shooting to start. She was the new face of Hollywood. She was being compared to Marilyn Monroe. She had a lot going for her, and she was so young. She just had this natural beauty. And 1980 was the year that she was named Playmate of the Year. She started filming her first major role alongside Audrey Hepburn, Ben Gazzara, and John Ritter. Her career as both an actress and as a playmate were just taking off. Paul Snyder started to realize at this point that he was starting to lose grip of his rocket to the moon. That's what he referred to her as, rocket to the moon. Take with that what you will. He started showing signs of jealousy. He would go into fits of rage. He even hired a private investigator to follow her around. Like, that's how crazy this guy was. Because remember, he was her manager, so he saw her success as his own. And it really started to make Dorothy feel like if she failed, she would fail both of them. So that same year, she left for New York to start filming her role in They All Laughed. I don't think I said the title before, but the movie with Audrey Hepburn and all of them is They All Laughed. And she left for New York to start filming that, and he would constantly call her on set, and she would be really tired, and he noticed like a change in her voice, and if he said I love you, she wouldn't say it back. He ended up having her phones screened, like her phone calls screened. Like, okay, sir, okay. Dorothy ended up taking a break from filming and going back to LA for some appearances, and then she went on a Grand Canadian tour with Playboy. And when she was in Toronto, he ended up calling her, and she told him that she wanted a little more space, a little more freedom, and he just blew up into a fit of rage. So she decided to meet up with him in Vancouver. She agreed to that. Her tour mate, Liz Norris, was pretty nervous about it and kind of, scared for her. So she offered a bodyguard whenever they got there. And Dorothy declined, said it was fine. She ended up going. So they ended up fighting really bad, crying, and then reconciling. Paul said that they made love and reconciled. Dorothy never commented on it. But Dorothy did say that she offered to move back to Vancouver for him. He declined. He wanted her stardom. Meanwhile, back on set of her breakout movie, she began an affair with Peter Bogdanovich, the director of They All Laughed. Pause, I totally just realized I pronounced his name wrong. It's Peter Bogdanovich, not Bogdanovich. And this had been going on since before she took her break to go on tour. He immediately was drawn to her, and they actually met a little while back at like a roller party at the Playboy Mansion. In June of 1980, Paul received a letter saying that him and Dorothy are both financially and physically separated. She had closed out their joint bank account. She was planning on getting a divorce from him, and she moved in with Peter. Paul still didn't know that her and Peter were together or having an affair or anything like that, but he had his suspicions. Paul had suspected the affair between the two of them. He even hired a freelance detective to kind of, again, private investigator, to stalk her, basically. He wanted to pursue legal action against Peter for enticement. I'm gonna have to read this because I don't exactly know the legal thing of what it is. Enticement to breach management contract. I guess because he was the director and she was working for him, or however that works. However, he knew that he did not have a chance. So this image of them together just like he was just distraught. I don't want to use distraught. I use distraught as a very loose term because he was the one like controlling her and doing all of this stuff to her, and now he's like distraught because he suspects that she's with another man. He knew that they had gone to London on vacation together and assumed that they were going to be together at the Midsummer's Night Dream Party at the mansion. He tried desperately to get invited to this mansion, and they told him no, obviously, and they said the only way that he could come is if he was with Dorothy. By now, Snyder was realizing that he was losing her, he was losing control, or he had lost all control, and he even tried to groom another Dorothy Stratten. He found this 17-year-old girl at an auto show named Patty. I couldn't find her last name anyway. He taught her to walk like Dorothy, to talk like Dorothy, to dress like Dorothy. She even moved in with him, and he tried to promote her to Playboy as well, just like he did with Dorothy, and they didn't want anything to do with him. So as you can see, he's just losing grip and losing grip. He's gonna fall. Things just aren't working out for the guy. Dorothy had attempted to keep a low profile. She was being approached by directors left and right. She was even approached to possibly play Marilyn Monroe in an upcoming movie. She ended up going to Dallas and Houston to promote for Playboy. She was kind of having a hard time with this anyways. Like, she's about to divorce her husband. Her husband's not treating her right. Like, she's having a hard time with that while having to put on a face, go into these promotions and these appearances and stuff like that. So obviously she still had kind of a soft spot for Paul and wanted him to be taken care of even after the divorce. So while she was in Houston, she ended up calling him and they agreed to meet. She agreed to meet with him on August 8th of 1980. He thought this meant that they were going to reconcile. He took this the completely wrong way. He was excited. He thought she was coming back. He even said, "My queen's coming back." Like, all of this stuff. He was excited. He thought they were going to get back together. But that ended up being the exact opposite of what happened. After lunch, they went back to his apartment. She ended up confessing her love for Peter and the whole affair and that she was in love with him. She told him that she wanted to come to a financial settlement, and then she packed up a bunch of her stuff and left. This obviously infuriated Paul. Like, he thought that they were going to get back together. He thought that she was going to come back into his life and that everything was going to be okay. but it wasn't, and that just made him so angry, especially knowing that he just did not have control of her anymore. Like, she was done. She was actually leaving, and he couldn't have that. So this is where the story takes a morbid and dark turn. Paul started having a fascination and like interest in guns randomly. Even asked his private investigator, private detective, to find him a machine gun, and he ended up talking him out of it. He asked why, and Paul just said for home protection. Paul eventually found a classifieds ad for a 12-gauge pump action shotgun. Is that what I'm saying right? So that Monday, the two men met at a construction site where the owner of this shotgun taught him how to load it, how to shoot it. Meanwhile, Dorothy had promised to call him on August 10th, which was a Sunday, but she didn't call until Monday the 11th, so that infuriated him even more. They agreed to meet to discuss the financial situation on August 14th. August 13th is when he actually went and picked up the gun and brought it home with him. He told his friends that he was gonna take up hunting. All of his friends and everyone that saw him says that he was in good spirits that day, but then later on he was actually talking to his friends about the Playboy playmates that just died suddenly and how they pull their pictures from the next issue if there's time, and just saying like morbid comments about playmates who have passed away. So the morning of August 14th, 1980, Dorothy met with her business manager about this financial settlement, and he told her that she can get out of seeing Paul any longer, like she did not have to see him any longer, by giving the remaining documents and the remaining information about the case to her lawyer and let him deal with it. But she said that it would be better if she did it herself because he's being nicer, and that she wished to still stay friends with him, which is so heartbreaking, you guys. She only told her younger sister that she was going to meet with Snyder that day. She was planning on meeting up with her after their meeting about the financial settlement and go shopping, but she would never show up. So Dorothy Stratten arrived at the apartment that she once shared with Paul in West Los Angeles at noon on August 14th, 1980 at 8 p.m. Some places say his roommate, some places say it was a girl that he knew, which I'm assuming would be Patty, who lived with him. I read that it was a neighbor, so I'm not really sure. There's kind of like a foggy area, but for the sake of the story, I'm just gonna go with roommate. So his roommates returned home at 8 p.m. I see that Dorothy's car is still parked in the driveway, and they walk in and notice that Paul's door was closed. So they just assumed that the two reconciled and that they wanted their space and that their own privacy. So they just kind of hung out. The private investigator had actually been in contact with Paul that day during their meetings, asking like, how's it going? And so he hadn't heard from him in a while, so he got a little nervous and he alerted the roommate. There they found Dorothy's lifeless, naked body laying on the bed, and I've read again different things, if she was face down, face up, kneeling, kind of like leaned over the edge. She had been shot in the face, right above her left eye. Next to her was Paul Snyder's lifeless body from a self-inflicted gunshot wound from his shotgun, same shotgun that he used to kill Dorothy. It was a murder-suicide. If he couldn't have her, no one could. There are claims that she had been raped, that I don't know if that was ever proven. I think police believe that she was, but I don't know if they ever did a test or anything on that, but I just wanted to put that in here, that there was speculation that that had happened to her because she was found nude, he was found nude. There are also reports of there being bloody handprints on her legs and her butt, but again, there's different sources that say different things, so just take with that what you will. I'll let you guys research and look at that stuff yourself. The private detective ended up calling Hugh Hefner and giving him the news. I read that Hugh actually didn't believe it for a while. He asked to speak with a police officer and then finally was like, oh my god. Hefner then called Peter Bogdanovich and he lost it. He was distraught. He was He didn't know that she was going to see Paul. Remember, only her sister knew. Her mother was notified by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm so sorry. Dorothy's body was cremated and her ashes were spread around Westward Village Memorial Park, the same place that Marilyn Monroe's ashes were spread around and Hugh Hefner's were as well. Paul Snider's body was moved to Vancouver. This was kind of seen as a permanent exile from Hollywood for him. Since her death, there have been 2 movies made about her. One was The Death of a Centerfold, which starred Jamie Lee Curtis, and Star 80, which starred Muriel Hemingway. Californication by Red Hot Chili Peppers, which is like their famous song. That one, is said to have been about her also, but again, not really sure. Peter Bogdanovich went on to write a book called The Killing of the Unicorn, and he also went on to marry her younger sister when she was just 20 years old and he was 49 in 1988, but they both divorced in 2001. So anyways, that is it for this case, you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'm sorry I'm really rusty. I will get better. This is my first one. I was kind of nervous. I don't really want to say something that offends someone. I will get better. I will have an actual disclaimer. With that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please give me a thumbs up if you want to see more videos like this. If you do want to see more videos like this, leave some interesting cases down below in the comments and I'll definitely check them out. Make sure you guys subscribe and hit that little notification button if you want to be notified whenever I post a video, because I promise I will be doing it more often in 2019 because I know exactly what I want to do with my channel. With that being said, I will see you guys later. Bye, my princesses.